In 1968, the Lakers pulled off a game-changing move, forming the NBA's first true super team by acquiring Wilt Chamberlain to join forces with Elgin Baylor and Jerry West, leading to a championship soon after. In the late 70s, they orchestrated one of the most lopsided trades in NBA history, landing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in his prime. Then in 1979, luck was on their side again as they secured the first overall pick and selected Magic Johnson, setting the stage for 5 more championships. The 1990s saw another masterstroke when they lured the dominant Shaquille O'Neal away from the Orlando Magic and managed to outmaneuver 14 teams to draft Kobe Bryant 15th overall, resulting in 3 more titles. When Shaq moved on to the Heat, the Lakers wasted no time and pulled off another one-sided deal to bring in Pau Gasol, leading to back-to-back championships. Then in 2018, just as the franchise was facing a rare period of struggle following Kobe Bryant's retirement, LeBron James seemingly landed in their lap. Soon after, they pulled off a blockbuster trade for Anthony Davis, which led to their 17th championship. This keeps your original meaning intact while improving readability and flow. Let me know if you'd like any further tweaks. Now, on February the 2nd, 2025, the Lakers have not only outdone themselves but the entire NBA, pulling off a blockbuster deal that sends shockwaves through the league. Somehow, they land Luka Doncic, giving up just Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a first-round pick in return. This is the same Luka who just carried Dallas on his back, despite an injury list as long as an 8-year-old's Christmas wish list, falling just 3 games short of an NBA title. The same Luka responsible for a third of the franchise's finals appearances. The same Luka that former Mavs owner Mark Cuban once swore he'd rather leave his wife than trade. And now, just 7 years after he seemingly fell into Dallas's lap, he's gone, mere months after nearly winning it all. So, what should the Mavericks have done? Run it back, make a smart move to fill a hole, or trade away their franchise player for basically nothing? Somehow, they chose the worst option. Dallas didn't just let Luka Doncic go, they did it for reasons that are, at best, ridiculous. Reports say the organization was growing frustrated with Luka's conditioning, believing it led to his injuries. But come on, that can't be the real reason. And it wasn't. The front office was also reportedly worried that Luka wouldn't sign his extension. But seriously, who cares? It's Luka Doncic was going to sign that deal. No doubt about it. And now that he's been traded to the Lakers, he just lost out on nearly $100 million. Do you really think anyone in their right mind would turn down that kind of money just to leave? Not a chance. To make matters worse, teams like the Washington Wizards have been stuck in mediocrity for decades simply because they've never landed a generational talent. Meanwhile, the Mavericks had their guy and just gave him away for a bag of chips and a banana peel. First off, according to multiple sources, none of the players involved had any idea about the trade until it was finalized. Secondly, Luka Doncic never requested a trade. He had spent his entire career in Dallas, and aside from a few clickbait rumors, there was no real indication he wouldn't sign the Supermax extension, a deal that would have made him the highest paid player in NBA history. And let me remind you, just 2 seasons ago, Jaylen Brown, a player who, quite frankly, struggles to dribble with his left hand, was offered the richest contract in league history by the Celtics. What did they do? They signed him, and the result? A championship, with Brown earning Finals MVP honors. Luka Doncic operates on a completely different stratosphere as an individual talent. Despite this, the Mavericks somehow decided he wasn't worth a Supermax extension. Luka is averaging 28 points per game for his career, the 3rd highest mark in NBA history, trailing only Michael Jordan and Wilt Chamberlain. How is that not deserving of a Supermax extension? To make matters worse, Dallas just traded a top 5 player in the NBA without even testing the market, depriving the other 28 teams of the chance to bid for him. There's no doubt they would have received a far better trade package for a talent like Luka. Just for a second, imagine the kind of package the Mavericks could have received in return for a 25-year-old Luka Doncic in his prime. If the Knicks had to give up 5 first-round picks just to get Mikal Bridges, what could Dallas have gotten for Luka? Probably an entire franchise's draft capital, plus multiple quality players, leaving whatever team traded for him with nothing but Luka. And you know what? That would have been absolutely worth it. That's how special this guy is. The Mavericks weren't just fleeced, they were robbed in broad daylight. But let's shift the focus to the real real story here, the Los Angeles Lakers. Never in a million years would I have imagined LeBron James potentially finishing his career alongside Luka Doncic. Yet, here we are. The Lakers have once again found a way to cheat the system, pulling off the ultimate move and killing two birds with one stone. The LeBron-AD duo had its share of great moments, including a championship. It was clear that the LeBron-AD era had run its course. The Lakers were staring down the barrel of irrelevancy for the next 5 to 10 years in the post-LeBron era. As much as the franchise loved AD, they had little faith in building a championship team around him alone. And even if they tried, their window would have been extremely short. AD is already in his early 30s, and his durability has always been a concern. But out of nowhere, they land Luka Doncic. This trade isn't just one of the biggest in NBA history. It completely solves every issue the Lakers were facing. They now have a new face of the franchise, someone who can carry them for the next decade. And in the short term, he gives LeBron a legitimate chance to finish his career playing competitive, championship-level basketball. Not only have the Lakers secured their present, but they've also locked in their future. The post-LeBron era now has a clear face, and it's Luka Doncic. Luka is coming off a season where he barely missed out on MVP honors, putting up insane numbers. 34 points, 9.2 rebounds, and 9.8 assists per game, all while leading his team to the NBA Finals. Now, in the short term, I do have concerns about how his game will mesh with LeBron's. Outside of athleticism, they're essentially the same prototype, on-ball floor generals who dominate through elite passing and scoring. But here's the biggest shift. For the first time in LeBron James's career, he won't be the best player on his team, or even have a legitimate argument for that title. From the very first game they share the court, this will be Luka Doncic's team. That's going to be a massive adjustment for LeBron, who, for the first time in his 22-season career, will have to spend significant possessions playing off the ball. That alone makes me question how well this duo will actually fit together. In fact, I'd bet against it being a seamless pairing, which is why I believe the Lakers are playing the long game with this deal. This trade wasn't really about forming a LeBron-Luka super duo to chase another championship. And while that possibility still exists, especially if they make another move for a dominant big man, that's clearly not their primary focus. With LeBron likely retiring in the next couple of seasons, the Lakers were facing a future with no real direction. Before the Luka trade, they had no clear path forward. But now, they have a 25-year-old Luka Doncic entering his prime, ready to carry the franchise for the next decade. This move was a masterstroke by Rob Pelinka, and he's almost guaranteed to win Executive of the Year just for making the call. But what this trade truly reveals is that it wasn't about maximizing LeBron's final years for a fifth title. It was about securing the Lakers' long-term future. In a matter of moments, the Lakers' outlook went from uncertain to incredibly bright. They now have a clear path forward, one that could keep them competitive at a high level for the next 10-plus seasons. Unless, of course, they somehow fumble it all with a once-in-a-lifetime disastrous trade that gives away their franchise cornerstone for nothing. But I digress. Luka now has the full backing of the most iconic franchise in professional basketball history, a team with the financial power and resources to consistently build a contender around him, so long as the right decisions are made. The NBA is wilder than ever, especially in the Western Conference, and this trade only adds to the chaos. Just 24 hours later, we saw another massive move with De'Aaron Fox heading to San Antonio. With all this shakeup, Luka leading the Lakers to multiple championships won't be as easy as some might think. The Western Conference is absolutely stacked, both now and for the foreseeable future. The Spurs, Thunder, and Nuggets are going to be serious roadblocks, and rising teams like Memphis, Houston, and Minnesota will only add to the challenge. But at the end of the day, the Lakers are built to compete with any of them. In fact, we might be witnessing the revival of the classic Lakers-Spurs rivalry, and if that happens, I'm all in. Luka versus Wemby on national TV for the next decade. That's pure cinema. Not just from an individual matchup standpoint, but because these two teams could be the best in the West, if their front offices make the right moves to build around their stars. This trade marks the beginning of a new chapter in Lakers history, the Luka Doncic era. And just like the great eras before it, they won't just be contenders, they'll be legitimate threats to bring home championships. But that's just my take. Do you think the Lakers are ready to make serious noise this season? Or is their focus on the long term, building the perfect team around Luka for the future?